Thank you, everyone, for spending your Saturday with us at the conference and listening to the West Point Gold story. I'd like to introduce you to our forward-looking statements, and if you wanted to look at those in detail, please take a look at those on our website. Now, what's exciting about this story, among anything, is that we're looking at a district of the Walker Lane, which is in the southern part of Nevada and just noses over into the northwest part of Arizona. The Gold Chain project is our flagship project, and that project, as Chen so generously mentioned, is a great analogy to my previous company called Corvus Gold. Interestingly enough, Gold Chain is actually 90 miles to the southeast of Las Vegas, and Corvus Gold, which is now the Anglo Gold project on the map there, North Bullfrog, is 90 miles to the northwest of Las Vegas. So it's nice to have such a polar opposite. But what's great about the Walker Lane is it's an area that's actually not seen a lot of exploration work. And the only big discoveries that have been made there is Round Mountain, which is, as we all know from Kinross, has been mined for a lot of years. The Anglo Gold now discovery, which was building on the back of Corvus, that was there from 2010 through 2022, and Anglo bought us for $570 million Canadian. We developed just under 4 million ounces. Anglo took the ground to the north, which is the Graben, which they presume was the source, the volcanic dome, and Anglo now on those two targets there, Silicon and Merlin, if you look on their websites, that's 15 million ounces there. So this is a project that has now basically transformed Anglo Gold Ashanti and been the impetus for them to move a lot of their people from South Africa to the U.S. And Anglo Gold itself had actually left the U.S. When they sold the Cripple Creek mine in Colorado to Newmont a few years ago. So this is an area I spent a lot of time on. It's an area I know quite well. And what's interesting for me is that, you know, my background isn't technical, but the site geologist for Corvus, who actually was the only Corvus employee that was hired by Anglo and retained, actually has been on our project and actually has said this, you've got yourselves an analogy here. So he's actually consulting to us. If we take a look at the land package here, as you can see, we're right next to the town of Bullhead City. So we've got a highway going right past the project. We've got historic mining, which is incredible. And we know historic mining from 1905 to 1920 was roughly mining in the range of about 15 grams or half an ounce. So this is a pretty robust area with a great footprint from historical mining. What's great about this district as well is it's just over the state line into Arizona, and we can see that the Moss mine there, which has been recently acquired by Mako, will demonstrate to you that a mine can be permitted in Arizona, just to give you an idea that we're dealing with a BLM office in the area, in the Oatman district there, that's actually really supportive of mining. So we've got all the infrastructure you could possibly want. You're actually not too far from Lake Mead, and you've got all the labor, the power, and a lot of work going on in the district. So if we take a zoom in on the project, the land package, you can see on the top right there, we've got the patented mining ground is outlined in black, and the BLM land package is outlined in the main map there in the middle of there. We've got 3.4 kilometers of vein system, 15 patented claims, and just under 10,000 acres overall. And as mentioned, 1905, 1920, these guys are going to be mining the very high grade, and that's our footprint. That's the smoke of the brownfields that we're going into right here. Now, on this land package, it's never been put together before we were able to assemble this project. And we've been able to identify that there's 6 different targets on here with 1 million ounces, and 3 of those have multi-million ounce opportunity. However, where the work is that we're doing this year is primarily on the Tyro vein, which is actually, there's a historic mine there from 1905 to 1920, but there's also some mining that was done in the 1980s on a heap leach at 2 grams. So looking at the Tyro, we were able to raise some money middle of the year last year. We raised $6 million at 25 cents. The orange dots right there are the RC drilling that was done prior to this company being founded and being, I guess, rebranded in December, as Chen just mentioned. And the green holes of the core, the green circles of the core that was drilled. So you can see some pretty robust grade there. That hole 30 right in the center of it, 89 meters of a gram, 0.8. Within that, you got 36 meters of 2. This is all from surface, 50 meters of 0.53. That hole 34, the further northernmost hole we drilled in core, 42 meters of 2.5. And that lovely hole there, hole 28, you've got 85 meters of 6 grams right down the south end. So you're dealing with a full kilometer long strike It's about 50 meters wide, which we're now extending that, and roughly 200 meters deep from surface. So the model we've got from the historical work and the work we've been doing, we're dealing with about 15 million tons to 31 million tons at 1.5 grams to 2.5 grams. Oxide, historical. So we know this is going to be a pretty robust first pass at this, and this is our first target. And the reason we're putting so much emphasis into this is to drive the valuation so we can get after some of those other targets. And where it's gotten interesting for us is that we've been dealing with this model for so long that has been essentially, we've got a footwall on the left side, which is the northwest, and you've got a hanging wall on the south side. We've actually presumed that 50 meters in the middle of it, that's actually where your mineralization is. And so you can see on that hole 34 on the left, you've got mineralization from surface right through to the footwall, and they actually hit an undocumented stope. They were drilling with the core and wood chips started coming up, and they actually were hitting 15 grams in the wall of that before they hit the 9 feet of open space of that stope. And if we go look at the slide left, that 30, that was in the middle of the map there, you can see that the hanging wall on the right there, we actually just did the assays from the hanging wall to the footwall, got 52 meters of 1.5 grams, realized that there was potentially some grade higher up closer to surface, and we actually now have an 89 meter. That just came out last week. So this is actually some pretty robust numbers that the system is actually getting bigger and broader, which you can understand all the residual benefits that are going to happen to the economics that would be coming potentially down the road as we start to get our arms around this thing. So this is the foundation for the model we're looking at right now. As you can see, there's some very continuous drilling and continuous mineralization. You got some phenomenal economic grades at surface on the trenching that was done. And then on the long sections, which is the underground stuff, you can see right across the entire body. Now, we've already launched 10 days ago a 3,000 meter RC drill program, which is essentially drilling kind of the center portion of that map with the idea that later this year, we're going to have a maiden resource. Now, we'll see what the market tells us about maiden resources, but I would look out for that in the fall. And this is the heap leach pit that was mined in the 80s. You can see there, that was where the 2 grams came from. And right there on the left side, you can see those holes in the middle of that. That's actually the old mining shaft from the 1905, 1920 days. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we've got 6 different targets, and we think where it starts to get interesting is if you can look the Tyro map in the center there, now as you can see splaying out to the kind of almost east-west there, you've got both Sheep Trail and Banner. We're dealing with historic stopes. So this is waste rock sitting beside a shaft that was not been touched in over 100 years. Our geologists took some samples of the waste rock, and you can see down there, right below Sheep Trail, you've got almost 2 ounces of gold sitting by an old hole that's not been drilled or not been followed up in 100 years. So this is the stuff that we want to get the money in to go drill as soon as we possibly can. So we're focusing on Tyro, but there's a lot of upside in this story, which is keeping us very much connected. We do have a joint venture in Nevada with Kinross at the Jefferson Canyon project. As you can see, we're 7 kilometers due east. It is the epitome of what satellite mining would be. And what's great, Kinross is going to spend the next $600,000 of work at that program, and they can actually buy 80% of that asset for $10 million. So that's actually what's going to give us a potentially to put some money in the treasury, but also it's going to give you some credibility. And as anyone that follows around Mountain, the grade is quite low going through, and the projection is that should be mined out in the next 2 to 3 years. So Kinross is chomping at the bit to get after this when the drill permit comes in, which is still being on hold from the BLM. Taking a look at the share structure, those black dots on the chart there, that was the financing in 4 tranches. The first one was the merger of the 2 companies that ended up as West Point Gold. 2, 3, and 4 were 25-cent financing of the $6.1 million. This is mostly a lot of my network from Corvus Gold that are shareholders of this deal. These guys know the area. They want a business build with us. And that's what's putting us into the next step. As you can see from the share structure, we've actually, the liquidity and the volume has really picked up since those drill results started to come out in the middle of January. That I was just talking about. And the warrants are essentially where the next round of money is coming in. And as you can see with the share price that closed yesterday at 45 cents, we're right at those warrant price. So we're going to be driving the marketing to try to bring in as much of that money as we can, because we really want to keep at least one drill turning on the RC 24/7. Thank you for your time.